about where you are in your business right now.
My business right now, well, we've been featured in some more articles, one in LA,
Okay.
but we're still trying to drum up sales. We're disconnecting with our customers on trying to buy our jeans online, so we're still having that disconnect.
Yeah.
But
What do you,
people love what
what do
we're
you,
doing.
what do you think causing that?
I think what's causing it in part is that we're selling women's jeans and we're not a very well known or established brand out there. And what we found is that a lot of women like to try on the jeans before buying them, see how they feel in them, see how they look in them. And normally they won't buy jeans over the internet unless they're familiar with the brand already and have already owned a pair.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I think been one of our big disconnects is trying to make our customers feel that if they buy our jeans, they're gonna feel good in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we put up like a free returns and all that kind of stuff. But it's still been hard to drum up sales
Yeah,
online.
it's not easy. And you guys are still selling it only direct to your site, or you guys are utilizing any other channels?
We're gonna start utilizing other channels soon where there's a chain in Denver that reached out to us. There was some smaller boutiques up in the mountains. I live in Colorado, so up in the mountains, there's some ski villages that have kind of some upscale boutiques that have reached out to us. So we're going to go talk to them in the next few weeks and see if they're interested in selling our product.
So going really more trying to go towards wholesale business side of the business.
Yeah, I mean that would be the dream is to do wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would like to do and take it where I would like to take this. But yeah, so we're still fighting, we're still keeping it going, and we'll get there.
You'll definitely get there, absolutely. Well, and you know, I'm always here to help. So if you ever need to kind of brainstorm some other solutions, we can talk more about this offline as well. Because I think there are definitely some opportunities that you can consider, and even on the direct to consumer side, the problem that I think you're encountering in outside of getting the people to buy it directly from you is that it's hard to discover you, right? Because it's finding your website overall will take you time to drive traffic to that site.
Right,
And that takes investment and time. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize, how long it actually takes to build up the momentum if you don't have a huge marketing budget to put into Google ads and meta ads and all of those things to drive people constantly to your site. Then the question is the strategy selling e-commerce directly through your own website as a primary strategy, is it the right one at this particular stage? Or is it better to identify where your customer goes and actually purchase product on a daily basis, right? Whether that's Amazon, whether that's Walmart, whether that's Zappos, whether that's Macy's.com, whatever that platform is. I mean, depending on your customer, and figuring it out, you know, partnering with someone who, who is expert, right, in building those channels and building those stores within those channels, and be able to reach the customer at the time when they actually coming to the platform with intent to buy. And I think that is where you have a huge opportunity that's potentially missing at this point, because you are trying to get customer at the beginning of their decision making, where like, oh, I don't know if I need jeans, I don't know what jeans I need, where I'm going with it, where they're versus if I'm already on Amazon shopping for jeans, I need jeans today, and I need to
right. That's a good point.
buy, right?
That's very good. I like that.
So thinking about and from that perspective, and like I said, I think we can definitely talk on offline about that. We do actually have a partner company who we work with now, specifically where we build businesses on platforms like that. And we take them from 0 to 6 to 7 figures per month of sales. But it requires less investment. It requires less capital in terms of marketing spend because you are marketing on those platforms compared to when you're going to Meta or you're going to Google. But it also is more effective because again, you are getting the customer at that end purchasing decision because they're already there with intent to buy.
Absolutely. I like that. That's very insightful, and that's really helpful to think about it in that way. You know, they're already, as you were saying, looking at Amazon, they're already looking for jeans, as opposed to if they come across your website and they're like, oh, I like your story, I love what you're doing, but I just got jeans. Right.
Exactly, exactly. And also thinking about, right, how do you help them build the trust that those jeans will fit, right? And that comes from the imagery, proper videos, proper infographics, A+ content. Do you provide a 360 video view of different type of models so that they could be able to see it, right? So we also have to look at the how we presenting it online so that you're able to gain that trust to the customer that, hey, I understand that if I'm going to buy these jeans, they will actually fit me, right? So that's the difference between when you are able to do it in person versus buying products in person where you can look and feel, you can take it to the fitting room, you can try it on, you can make those decisions. Where when we are mercilessly just relying on buying online, we are really buying it off of images and videos and the descriptions and the question. And remember, we have to remember that people don't read, right? Don't have the time to read. And so we want to make sure that it's very clear for the way we communicate how that product fits, who that product is for, what are the features of that particular product, right? In your case, you guys do a 4-way stretch, the pockets and everything else. So this would be very critical to emphasize and even potentially show through a video of close-ups of how that fabric performs, how the buttons close, and so forth. So, again, those are the other side of the piece of puzzle that I think potentially might be low-hanging fruit for you to be able to fix so that you can gain that trust from the customers to actually make the purchasing decision.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm here to help, and the end of the call will Lisa will share my link, so you feel free to reach out to schedule, and then we can brainstorm some more solutions for you as well. Absolutely. Welcome. Where are you joining us from? And you are on mute if you are talking.
Hi, I'm joining from New York.
Welcome, welcome. Tell us a little bit about your business.
I do sustain. I was in production for many years for several brands, but now I work as a consultant for helping brands on their journey in manufacturing, in traceability, in sustainability.
I love that. Well, welcome. We're really happy to have you. Well, we're going to start. We have few people also looking at us online. So this is a recorded session. So I just want to get a thumbs up from everybody that everybody's okay with the recording. We will be sharing this as well to you once we are done at the end of the sessions. And I'd just like to start off with a quick introduction. I know many of you guys already been in our calls, and I really appreciate you joining our executive roundtables that we host once a month, every first Tuesday of the month. We constantly have different topics to discuss, so I'm really excited to see new faces as well today. But just a little quick introductory why we do this. This is not a sales call, so don't rush to drop off towards the end of the call. This is a truly network event so that we can bring our expertise and meet one another so that we could be able to widen our network within the industry and as well as learn from one another, right? So that we can implement some of the strategies and ideas that we learn into our own businesses and potentially help and collaborate with one another as well. Why do I do this, you might ask? Because this has been my passion for all my life. So I've been wanting to do this since as a fashion designer since I was 4. I've been in the industry for 25 years, sat on the executive seats for manufacturing brands as well as large retail brands for building them private label brands. So I've built about 19 multi-million private label brands by this point. At the same time, I was a solo self-starter entrepreneur as well back in 2011. We launched a Yay convertible clothing brand with lots of struggles in the first year and a half, not realizing that it takes completely different strategy and ways to do it when you are on your self-started funding versus when you are actually working with big budgets, with big marketing budgets of big corporations. So I had to take a step back a year and a half later after I lost lots of money and made many mistakes and create myself a roadmap that I have followed, which led me to be able to sell the brand with a positive ROI within 4 years. And ever since, I've been coaching and consulting small to mid-size businesses, entrepreneurs to kind of help them launch their brands as well as build their and grow their brands. And at the same time, we're continuing working with the mid to large size retailers to build their private label brands. So that's kind of where my passion is. And this is my way of giving back to the community to be able to share my knowledge and expertise, as well as learn from every single one of you guys that are on the call and who will be listening to this recording later on. So really excited to have you today. We have a really fun and great topic to talk about, which I would get quite a few inquiries to talk about mastering fashion product development, design, and innovations, because we are seeing a big shift in trend in terms of how we approach the product development, how do we approach the design processes, and how do we integrate that with the AI, with the 3D, with the 3D web, and other tools that are now existent, including blockchain and so forth. So it's a very hot topic at the moment. So I do want to have a collaborative discussion today. So hopefully we'll be able to have your input as well. So feel free to speak freely because this is going to be as insightful as we all going to put into this particular topic. So are we ready to start? How is everybody doing so far? All right. Well, I'd love to start off by opening up the topic with talking about the integrating technology in the design and the development. You know, looking at how can we emerge in the technologies like AI, VR, and 3D printing as an example, as transform traditional design and development process in the fashion currently today. Are any of you guys are starting to have been using any of those tools or have kind of to toy around and experiment with those tools of part of your design and product development process so far?
Well, I have not yet started using AI or computers yet to design my jeans. I was very old school and I used patterns and rulers and compasses. But that was because, we're starting out, we don't have necessarily the money yet to purchase those kinds of programs. However, I definitely have seen the value of those software and AIs and all that kind of stuff. I have seen the value that they can provide, and at some point would absolutely want to utilize that because it can cut your production, or it can cut your product development time way down,
Absolutely.
which is important when you're running a business that you can get product on shelf quickly and efficiently. So as our company grows, at some point we will absolutely be utilizing that kind of technology and allowing the technology to help us be more efficient in what we do and how we deliver our products and design our products.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's all about the question is how quickly we wanted to be able to respond to the demand and bring the product to market, right? The longer it takes us to product develop it, the longer it takes the resources for us to go back and forth to adjust the fits and so forth, the more money we lose, the resources we tie up. And at the same time, sometimes we're too late to the market by the time we're actually able to implement it. Sui, what about you with some of your clients? Have you guys started utilizing any of the technology just yet?
I think here in Bangladesh, UK Bangladesh based company just introduced their 3D digitalization fabric methods, and it's quite unique. It's called Bureau 555. a professor from University of Arts, London, and a manufacturer of like the second generation manufacturer of Hamid Fashion. So they have been introduced this product, and it's quite getting very renowned here in Bangladesh. And some companies, some tech companies, mostly taking places here, but in a very like they are just using their prototype and just collaborating with the data. Like here in Bangladesh, we have lots of fabric prints or some sort of like what we can say like that blueprint. So we have lots of blueprint, but it's not digitalized. And Buro 555, it's offer now 3D digitalized fabric. So you don't have to like buy any sort of what we can say like the sampling things. You
Sample
don't
yarn.
have to
Yeah.
ship it. So so that's the challenge they have been trying to solve. And they have been conservative things like our cultural heritage things like Jamdani Shari and lots of things which have been like diminished for 50 years. So these are the technological things happening here. And also here UNIDO is taking places, because here UNIDO is taking that action to promote circularity in fashion, because we are the like we are quite highest manufacturer,
Mm-hmm.
except rather than China, rather than like Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
But the practice here is quite challenging. Uh, People don't want to share their profit because they think mostly the business owners, those who have the green facility, they have been shifted their mind, uh, but only 200 tons factory here, but apparently there are 40,000, 50,000 factory if you include that. So industry is quite huge, but the necessity and the taking action is below poor. And the buyer, they always seek the competitiveness. That's the challenge when it's talking about sustainability. And sustainability fraud is also like we can say like the greenwash or some sort of things. It just become a trendy things, like it just become a what we can say like it just a certificate they're trying to sell or they're trying to oppose. You need to buy this certificate. And anyhow if my product or my article is just passed, I can buy through like mobilizing, like with communicating with other factory, those who have it. So that's how our industry is running, but it's not very viable. So as I am promoting circular fashion here in Bangladesh, like I am second in, like my family was in buying house business mostly. Uh, so what I have been seeing, like I was in leather and footwear industry. Now I tell myself as a fashion entrepreneur because I know how to do fashion, like top to bottom. So I have that genetical knowledge regarding how to make shirt, how to make pant, how to make sweatshirt and some sort of thing. But typically here is the challenge is the skilled labor, because those who are the skilled labor here, they have been practicing for at least 10 years, at least 8 years.
Correct.
They don't have any technical knowledge. And our government doesn't support any technical or vocational education regard garments industry, regard leather and footwear industry. That's the challenges, that's the drawback we have been facing, because those who are the skilled labor, so how they really engage, they really engage as a helper. They just
Correct.
see what they are doing, what the operator doing, then they actually improvise themselves. These are the things they have to do. And when they shift their factory to another factory, the optimism of work have been just diverted. Then their skill set doesn't work out. So those who have the green factory, they really care about their workers. They train themselves and they
Correct.
engage with the different stakeholders like UNIDO, like GIZ, German uh, German Foundation. So they are the technical partners. They have been promoting our upskilling our laborers, but it's very few. It's very few, and these are the mindset we have been introducing. Like here in Bangladesh, around 250 50 garments owner, like first generation, second generation. They have been in a association list, but
Correct.
only few like five peoples or 10 peoples are like to transaction in technology or some sort of things like for futuristic way to
Correct.
promote circularity and some sort of things.
Correct. And you bringing up a really great point. It is a slow moving train, but it's a necessary one. So, and this is the
Yes.
future, right? So, but as an industry overall, we talk about this on every roundtable. It comes up all the time. But as an industry overall, we are slow to take into change. We are slow to adapt to the new, and so it is going to take time. And we continuously have to continuously promote that. To your point, invest in education, invest in the technology, because that is the future, and figuring it out, how do we make more with less, right? So
Yes,
one,
and I also think those who are the young buyers, I have seen Richard. He have been mentioned. He doesn't have that money to in trim the technology, but he's trying. So that's some sort of mindset we need to understand how we can work together for future for making things more globally.
absolutely, 100%. But going back to the topic of the conversation that we're trying to unveil here, one of the couple of things that we've also seen, with brands like Adidas, Nike, they started to utilize 3D printing as to significantly speed up their prototyping piece as well. But one of the common pitfalls that we are seeing among our clients, that unfortunately we get so distracted by everything that's thrown out there. We hear AI, 3D web, blockchain. We want to try it all. We don't know where to start. And so one of the biggest things that we want to always say is that before you kind of heavily invest in the new tech, you got to make sure you properly align that with your specific business needs and clear customer benefits. Whether that is actually going to serve your end consumer by adapting a particular technology, whether that's going to be in Richard's case, utilizing a virtual showroom, fitting room, I'm sorry, as part of his selling process. That would be a very beneficial technology move for him, because that will help to gain the trust and bridge that gap between the consumer and be able to give him the trust that their product be able to actually fit in the virtual space. So that's something that we would potentially say, hey, that would be something recommendable for you to prioritize, compared to potentially going into creating AI design, utilizing the AI into design aspect, or as well as creating some sort of a 3D printing of buttons or whatever it is. But if you are in the shoe business, or if you are an accessory business, then maybe 3D printing is actually would be a huge solution for you, because it will cut down on cost, it will cut down on back and forth, and you can get the product much faster to market, be able to actually create focus groups and be able to get the response, so that you can invest in the molds and so forth, on the proven styles. But a couple of the things that we look at, a lot of times people come out and ask me, well, what type of tools are out there that exist that we might want to consider? And so I wanted to kind of give you guys a couple of lists of tools that we are seeing that people are using and that it's really working for their business. Again, so for you to kind of explore what works best for particularly your business. It doesn't mean that you have to try them all. So in the AI design tool space, we'll look at the CLO virtual fashion suites. This is a software that uses AI to help designers create 3D garment visualization. It allows them for rapidly prototyping and in reducing the needs of physical samples and accelerating the design process altogether. This is a fantastic tool for retailers who are actually have private labels, because that allows them to create really rapidly design of their private label and mix that into their assortment of product that they're buying to make the decisions of what product they want to go forward with to adapt under their private label, instead of actually over designing it and going through the process of prototyping and only then how we would see it traditionally do a style out to make those type of decisions. When we look at Google Project Muse is another great tool that we're seeing, which is developed in collaboration with Zalando. And this is experimental used for the machine learning to create new fashion designs based on the user interest and the style preference. So that is actually another fantastic tool that if you do have enough data and in your database about your consumer and your consumer preferences, what people have bought in the past, what people have returned in the past, this is a fantastic tool that can help you take that data, analyze it, and actually give you a projection of designs of going forward that will allow them to be able to make the decisions of the designs that are going to minimize their risk and actually will perform in their sales. The other thing, yes, and then I will be sharing I can share the list of tools at the end when I'll send the recording. I can send the list of tools as well. Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. The other thing is that we're seeing for like Stitch Fix as an example, using a hybrid design tool where they have employed the AI algorithms to analyze their customer data and predict their style trends, which helping them to create customer clothing recommendations and designs. Another fantastic tool that retailers can benefit as well as direct-to-consumer brands can benefit as well to make the proper recommendations during the buying process, that you can be able to recommend other products, not just based on that it was a best-selling product or that what is you trying to push out of your inventory and stock that you're trying to sell, but actually taking it a step further and making recommendation of the product that you know are going to be specific to that customer and their behavior. You know that it will be a great complement to a product that they're already buying, so that you can be able to increase your volume shopping cart size for that particular consumer. Looking at the VR showroom type of options, looking at a tool called Obsess. This is a platform creates virtual reality experience for the e-commerce, enabling fashion brands to set up customizable 3D virtual stores where the customers can browse and shop as if they are in the physical location. So again, we are talking future, right? And we are understanding that the consumer in today's world, we're still not 100% out there, right? We still have a large consumer base that are still very traditional. They go through a very traditional steps, and even e-commerce online sales is fairly new for them. I mean, if you think about, we've been talking about e-commerce direct sales for decades, but when did it really take off to where it actually reached all generations was during COVID and the pandemics, right? When we actually were forced to go buy online. And brands who were resistant to going online were forced to be online in at that particular time. So it is fairly new when we talk about not the younger generation, but we're talking about more of a broader generation. Now it is much more understandable. And so if we look another 10 years forward, we have to start preparing ourselves that having a virtual shopping experience is not going to be an anomaly. It will become a norm. So what is you as a brand who is growing and who is developing are doing to work towards that and educating your consumer to give them the ability to have an experience of shopping in that particular format? Looking at the virtual showrooms as an option to be able to allow buyers to view the upcoming collections in the virtual environment. So we're talking about wholesale now, right? That could be an opportunity to use a virtual showroom option. And instead of having the buyers go to the trade shows and go to the showrooms, which we're starting to see less and less of that. I mean, if you look at the trade shows overall in the last 2 decades, the amount of actual purchasing decision that happens at those trade shows becoming less and less with every year. Why? Because buyers are not always out there anymore. And people we see who are coming into those trade shows are typically would be other designers or other competitive brands are trying to understand what's happening in the market, trying to kind of gauge the trends of where it's going. But where these buyers are now, how are those buyers are currently buying today? So obviously nurturing the relationships and having the relationships of the direct to buyers, having those direct meetings, but a lot of those are happening online now. So having a tool that will allow them to be able to virtually view those type of collections in a much more detailed way where they can actually see it all around the product, almost feel like the are able to touch that product is definitely giving a different layer of how we can approach the way we sell today in wholesale. We also want to look at options of virtual shows, of virtual fashion shows if you're a luxury brand. And, you know, in today's environment, again, we are able to see opportunities where we're actually doing physical fashion shows, and they're great for PR, and they're great for creating some content. But what we're not realizing that by doing that, we're only able to actually engage a very small amount of people who are actually able to interact during that fashion show and interacting with that product. So having an option of obviously viewing it live, but also having a virtual fashion show option is a phenomenal idea as well, where you don't even actually have to think about it. You don't even have to create product. You digitizing the product and looks and feels, and actually creating a VR showroom fashion show from which those buyers and influencers are able to pick up the trend and be able to place orders, and as well as give you the exposure that you need. So giving you some other options and kind of thinking about how can we think of the future and how do we start finding the right tools that would work for us. 3D printing, I mean, we know that Adidas 4D shoes, for example, has developed a 4D printing modules, which are crafted using digital lights synthesis technology. And this technology allows the pieces turning into midsole properties, such as cushions and stability, and then tailored to a specific sport and individual needs. I mean, we're talking now even a step above. Now we're not only creating a prototype of look and feel, but now we're actually able to see and develop layers that are needed in order to support that particular product, in order to ensure that their comfort will be that we need. Looking at Speedways, another great service provides on the demand of 3D printing for designers who wants to experiment with complex designs without investing in their own 3D design printers. So we also see services that now are available for us to be able to partner and collaborate with to develop our product. Saeed mentioned something about the 3D printing of fabric. And so we do have a tool that we're suggesting is Electrolume. And that is kind of the world's first 3D fabric printer. And it uses the process called field-guided fabrication to create seamless fabric items from liquid solutions, essentially enabling designers to print clothing in the desired shape and size. I mean, now it's exciting with what is actually happening out there that is allowing us to be able to really, create product, and at least in the prototype phase, without the traditional lengthy process of creating products that we are doing today, right? We're creating sourcing of the fabrics and creating the patterns and communicating back and forth with the factories and trying on the fits. I mean, now we're actually able to 3D print that. I mean, how exciting it is. And of course, we are going to see the adoption of a lot of those tools in the luxury market first, because it is more accessible to them. It's in terms of the budget and in terms of the adaptability of couture, and as well as the less of the volume that they need to produce. So definitely we're seeing in the luxury market that starts to happen already now and more. But we are also excited to see this happening in the brands that are producing for mass. And this is a phenomenal way of talking about how do we get to the sustainability, right? Because it's all about minimizing waste. And Saeed brought up a great point. There's so much sustainable talk today, but what does it sustainable really means at the end of the day? And do we really have all that sustainable product that we currently certified and we're buying it as sustainable product? Is it really truly sustainable? One of the greatest story I always share with my personal experience with one of the clients that came on board, where they were claiming that they were producing fully sustainable product, but when we start kind of unveiling every process that product went through, yes, they've started sustainable, they've started from organic cottons and they've started from some of the recycled materials, but by the time they went from the dyeing process and printing process and putting plasticel on top of it, that product was no longer sustainable, but yet it was still claimed to the consumer that it's truly sustainable. So to Saeed's point, we have to make sure that we are able to truly create sustainable product, which in my book, it is, if your product that you're creating will minimize waste all around through its life cycle product, then that's when you actually can claim yourself that you are truly sustainable, that you are saving water, you are potentially dyeing it with no waterless dyeing, you are potentially utilizing the fully recycled cottons and polyesters and so forth, you're minimizing energy, but most critical of all, that you do not have waste of inventory, because that's the other biggest piece of sustainability that we constantly miss, is when we are creating sustainable product, but if you still have a lot of inventory that's left over, that at the end will gonna be sold off for pennies and most likely will end up going to landfills, then no matter how your product is sustainable, you are not a sustainable brand. So thinking about that as well as we are starting to develop. I'd like to also welcome Hillary that joined our call. Do you want to just give a really quick introduction to everyone to the group, and then we'll continue with our topic after that.
Oh, I'm not mic'd. Okay, muted. Hi. I already got my product, designed and manufactured. Right now I'm troubled with Amazon using my registered trademark as a keyword for other 6 different pages of sellers. And I'm trying to get my name in there so I can compete like I should, but it seems like they keep putting me in a box and I can't even use my own registered trademark in Amazon. It's really frustrating.
It is absolutely frustrating, and I do recommend for us to talk offline about that, because we do have a team of experts specifically who are specializing in Amazon, and this is not an uncommon issue. I actually currently have a client who is dealing with something very similar. So yes, we can talk offline and we can kind of discuss some of your options.
I like that.
I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but unfortunately you are going to be in for a big fight. So
I know, I already started one.
Yeah, it's not easy. But what type of product have you designed?
Oh, it's my hair bun product. If you see, I got a hair bun. The same tool that does this can be wrapped with a cover, and then you just use a U-pin or a stick that slides right in, and you can use it externally too.
Beautiful.
So it rolls up. What I got is a series of sizes. You just slip a button on if you don't want the cover on it. And then you roll your hair up on it and button it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, so that's how I do my hair bun. I roll it up like that and I put a button in it. But if I wanted to use it on the outside, I can just roll my hair up and pin it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, it's really exciting, and I'm glad to hear that you are starting with a someone like Amazon, because again, we were just talking at the beginning of the call. especially when you're starting small, you want to think strategically that you want to be at the place where people actually want to come with the intent to buy. So
Right,
that
I
helps
just
you to
want to
bridge that
use,
gap.
yeah, I just want to use my name with marketing, but I'm afraid that any marketing money I spend is going to go to Amazon, and those sellers are going to use and they're using my Trustpilot good reviews, when I know darn well that they've had like 3.5 reviews and mine's got like a 4.5. And they're
Right,
using my reviews, and in Trustpilot starts
right.
off low, because I only got like 30, 40 reviews. But they're actual reviews, and like I say, they're using my name, my credibility, and then they're presenting that. When I use my marketing money, they're getting the advantage of it.
Exactly, exactly. It's definitely a battle, but let us talk offline for that particular topic. That's definitely something we could probably navigate you and assist you with.
All
Absolutely.
right. Yeah, I
But
really hope so.
absolutely. And as we started to talk about kind of the sustainability, the ethical sourcing process of it, the couple of things that I want to mention as well is the initiatives, the common of the pitfalls that we are starting to see is the initiatives can increase the cost, right? When we start to think about sustainability and ethical sourcing, and then tempting brands to compromise elsewhere. So how do we make sure that we avoid that common pitfall, and how do we not able to still create the product and source the product ethically so that we are able to give that sustainability factor product to our customer, to the end consumer, without any compromise, any kind of type of compromise. So I'd like to give a couple of examples of how we've solved that problem for some of our clients in our private label space. And one of the ways we have done it, which I'm really proud of, because we were one of the first ones to kind of start working with that with a phenomenal supplier, Lane 7, and they, I give them a lot, huge credit for, they do phenomenal fleece, actually one of the best in the market. And they actually started to use where they've developed the waterless technology to be able to dye their product and save the energy to be able to create their product in color. And that alone ended up being a phenomenal win, because not only we were able to get the product to reduce the water use and lower the production costs, but we also were able to improve efficiency. And then continuing it to deliver it with the better margins while applying it to the environmental conscious consumer. And that was a phenomenal way of introducing fleece, and making it more sustainable, making it more to really truly drive the message to that a sustainable consumer that is actually conscious of sustainability. And what it also helped us to do is the commitment not only to reduce the environmental impact without compromising the quality, but also has strengthened the reputation and the go forward thinking of the product that we were able to present by working with this particular supplier and their fleece, and then be able to bring that to the collegiate market. Looking at another great program when we came to the sustainability factor is a take back program. Because many of you guys know that in the last 8 years, I spent working with retailers in the collegiate sports licensing space and developing the private label brands. And what we have acknowledged, one of the biggest issue that we kind of have in the collegiate space, you would say, is that you have a lot of wasted product after. Think about all the t-shirts from the tournaments or from some sort of old games that you've attended to. What happens to those t-shirts afterwards? They usually will end up going to donation and then eventually to landfill. So what we have created for one of our clients is a take back program where we are now encouraging our clients who bring that product back to us and usually we do take a 100% cotton product, so that we can then send it off to factories who are able to recycle that cotton and spin it to a yarn, from which then we create recyclable cotton t-shirts as well. Not only we with this able to now get raw material for us to be able to create new production, but we also create a loyalty to our consumer, because those customers are now who are bringing their product back to us. They're receiving some points from which they are able to get rewards and as well discounts to their new product that they're buying from us. So which is creating a life cycle of that customer always staying true to our brand, right? So they are keep coming back and buying from us the next generation of those t-shirts and product. The product that we take, the interesting, amazing part, the technology that we have today is that we no longer even have to dye our t-shirts anymore. So we actually compile and sort the t-shirts by color that we receive. So we have a pile of red, we have pile of green, we have pile of navy. And when we recycle that particular yarn, we already have the yarn coming back in that particular color. So we're completely eliminated the dyeing process in this particular life cycle of our products as well for this particular brand, which now again not only helps us to reduce a long-term cost and the way we are contributing to the environmental cause of minimizing waste, but the most important, we are creating loyalty customers. We are be able to gain the trust of that consumer, that they will know that the product that they are buying from us is not going to end up being in landfills. We also making sure that we are continuously being sustainable, that when we do print that product, we print it with inks and water-based inks so that it is still becomes a recycled product. Because I wanted to say this to all the printers out there. If you take in a sustainable product and you are printing plasticell on it, you are no longer able to recycle that particular product. So that's going to be something that we want to be conscious of as for printers and anyone who is actually using printing as part of their decoration for their product as well. So another part of the kind of thinking about how we can innovate in our prototyping and design phase is driving a consumer-driven design strategies and making sure that we actually able to get consumer insights on shaping the product development in our fashion today. Giving an example of Zara, like Zara leverages fast feedback from their store sales and their online analytics to tweak designs and product offerings quickly. The common pitfall, however, here is to misinterpret the customer data and leading it to the misalignment in the product offerings, and as well as minimize the creativity that potentially will come with the brand. So got to be very careful as we are implementing that particular strategy. But I'd love to kind of open that to the group as well and see if we can kind of brainstorm some of the methods to ensure how can we engage our customer and improve the data collection process in order for us to be able to make some of those great decisions of what our future designs would look like. Anybody has any good ideas? Richard, Hillary, Saib, anybody?
I mean, if you're talking about textiles like your clothing, the only thing you can do if you're not printing on them to identify yours versus another is a different color line or, some other different trait that stands out, an embroidered eye hole or something for something or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I know for our jeans, since we're trying to do positive things, sustainability was something that we really thought about in the beginning. And we have our logo that is on our jeans, but it's cotton. So it still is able to be recycled. It's
Good.
not, it's sewn in, it's embroidered in, but it is a cotton thread. And that was important to us. And our buttons are also recyclable.
I love that.
So yeah, for us, it was important to make sure that the jeans would be recyclable after they were, had their lifetime use. So yeah, that was something we have been thinking about since the beginning, and it is important for us that we practice sustainability and practice good environmental stewardship. So
I love what you're saying, but I think the biggest thing that we missing is the what type of data do we need to collect as we are adapting styles and starting to sell to our consumer, so that we can make the logical decisions later on and analytical decisions of how to pivot our design of the future collections. And what we are seeing among most of our clients, whether you are a large retailer to with private label initiatives, whether you're a small brand, is that we tend to not collect enough attributes for our product for which we can later on analyze and make those decisions. When we are typically collecting attributes for products that we are adapting, we do product class, right? We do product category. We'll probably mention whether that's going to be a short dress versus a long dress, or whether that's going to be a V-neck versus a crew neck. But we often don't take into further consideration of analyzing and collecting data based on what type of material we used our buttons. Were our buttons circle or square? Where other our screen prints or designs were circle prints versus a square prints, or whether it's just a text print, or if we're talking about more of the products in terms of the not just the sleeve length or sleeve or type of a V-neck, but we're looking at the type of a fit, whether it's a slim fit versus the oversized fit. So the importance of having the enough attributes and data that comes along with every style that you adapt, to when you actually sell the product, you can then analyze along with those attributes that you have collected for all of those styles. You're now able to analyze and make conscious decisions and understand what your customer actually prefers, not just, again, on the product class and product category basis and potentially color and size, which is more of a given attributes that you would collect, but you are actually able to look at whether it's a finish of the wash in terms of, Richard, in your particular case. Maybe you are collecting attributes, whether that's a shredded type of holes that, decorative holes, versus you're doing kind of a vintage send off type of texture on your jeans. So whatever it is it a roll hem versus a regular hem that you guys are using? Maybe it's the raw edge and fringe that is potentially, for particular type of styles versus the others. But what we see when we coming in as as consultants to kind of start, the first thing we ask is, what data do you have? And of course we get sales data that's provided, but the lack of the attributes that then was collected along with that sales data is what typically becomes a roadblock to make those analytical decisions, to help you design for the future and minimize your risks, and also provide the product that actually resonates with your consumer and your consumer preferences. And of course, the trends do change. But what we also see, while the trends do change, the customer preferences and behaviors, they don't. And so once you identify who that customer is and what they prefer, irregardless of the trend, there's going to be certain things that they'll gravitate towards, irregardless of what's trending today in the market. And it's the challenge is, how do we take that knowledge and take the creativity of the new upcoming trends and merge them together in order for us to be able to give the best collection possible to our end consumer at the end. So having the thought of what type of attributes you are collecting is going to be super critical in this particular prototyping and design phase that a lot of times we don't think about. And that would be really critical when we set up the new designs. The other last point, because as we're starting to run a little bit out of time, I want to kind of leave us with the fact is to think about, when we are creating our processes of product development and design innovations and adopting all of the technology, the most important critical aspect of all is, how do we get our product the fastest possible to market, right? So what type of agile methodologies we can implement in our processes in order for us to be able to get the product the best possible product to our end consumer in the fast possible way to the market itself. And so I'd like to kind of think about so a couple of the options in the design, from the design phase as an example. Using using interactive design cycles where designers can create prototypes, gathering feedback and refining designs in a rapid succession. So as an example, think of a fashion brand that could set up a bi-weekly sprint reviews where the design team presents prototype, right? Assuming that we've used the new technology to create this prototype faster and in a shorter period of time with less investment and resources. We can be able to then to mix the groups of stakeholders, which would be your end consumer, and include marketing, production, and also selected customers. And then based on their feedback, the designs are adjusted and reevaluated in the next sprint, ensuring that the final product is closely aligned with the customer expectation and the marketing trends. I mean, that's completely different way of thinking of how we are currently designing. Because if you think about how do we design today, our design teams are doing the research, they're creating the designs, we're producing it, we're creating prototypes, and only then we get the feedback of our stakeholders as well as of our consumer. Thinking about how can we actually bring that and make it more agile, where you can actually get that in an upfront phase and then be able to minimize a lot of the costs that will be associated with the wasted and over designing products or products that are designed that are not meeting your end consumer needs. In material sourcing process, as an example, aligning a flexible sourcing strategies that allows the teams to quickly adopt the new trends and availability of sustainable materials. So instead of committing to a long-term material purchases, a brand could work with a network of suppliers on demand responsive basis. This agile sourcing approach allows the brand to pivot easily, and if the certain material becomes unavailable, or if the customer preference shifts towards a different fabric or sustainable materials. So it gives you, again, an agile way of adapting different materials as you are creating your product. In sample development, rapid prototyping, as we've discussed earlier in the call, would be quickly producing samples and get immediate feedback, which will shortening the feedback loop and enabling quicker iterations, right? Making sure that you're actually able to deliver the right product to your end consumer. Where we've talked about earlier, utilizing digital fabric printing and 3D garment simulations that can significantly speed up the sample review process, fit review process. For instance, digital samples can be reviewed virtually with stakeholders globally. So you're no longer now able to reach only to your consumer locally, but you can actually expand it to the global reach, and receiving instant feedback and making modification in real time, which is reducing the need of physical samples and accelerating the development process. And I think that I would like to leave all of us with, is to think about when we are thinking about adopting technology, when we are thinking about agility, when we are thinking about methodology that we want to adopt, I always want to say, what can we do to minimize the amount of physical samples and back and forth that we can do so that we can minimize the waste and also speed up our development process, and at the end, save resources, time, and money.